good, kid. I'm doing good. I'm glad you're blessed.
Oh,
Um,
most
uh, so I was waiting, but let me see if I can just invite him in here. Um, what did you read about this, Reg? When,
well. Oh, basically, what I read is that everything that from our inception, from our birth, everything that through our five senses that we've ever came in contact with has an effect on us, even up to now. Uh, our,
yeah.
our environments affect everything that we think, do, and through, of course, our five senses,
Mm-hmm.
everything that we've ever smelled, touched, tasted, heard, everything has an effect on the choices that we make. Everything we've ever seen, uh,
Mm-hmm.
basically is filed in your personal iCloud or your database, and then we act or react on everything we do based on that.
Oh, there he is. I didn't see you.
Hey, cousin,
What's happening, man?
Mister uh, Womanizer with those dimples, man. They're
See, that's why you like the
killing
nickname
them.
that I gave you. Now you see, it's not just me. It's not just me.
I
Nah,
don't
man.
know what you're talking about.
Oh, he's always had that attitude. You just play it down, brother.
So why don't you guys take like 2 seconds and introduce yourselves? We start with you, Reggie.
Okay. Well, my name is Reginald, aka Reggie Jackson. It's fun. Uh, basically, I come from the small town of Cameron, Missouri, like my cousin Hope, by way of Fort Lauderdale, come back to Cameron, Missouri, and now reside in Blue Springs, Missouri. Basically, I was one of the middle children, family of six siblings, mother and father. Father has passed. Mother is just still been blessed and making it. Uh, basically, I did finish high school, but I graduated with a GED. Went to junior college and transferred. Went maybe about a couple of semesters. Dropped out. Never went back. Just kind of had to hit the workforce. Uh, I did a lot of things as customer service and banking with some of the major companies, and then wound up somebody giving an opportunity to work in information technology. So I worked with a company called Black Knight, and for those of you familiar with it, I worked for them for about 5 years, and wound up moving on from there, and then wound up getting hired by General Dynamics. For those who are familiar with General Dynamics, they handle a lot of defense and strategic military software and other things. Of course, I started off while I was going through orientation and training, basically fielding calls for Medicare. So I was doing that while I was in training with them, and then once I completed training, then I was going to move on to probably doing something in the information technology field with General Dynamics. They're headquartered out of Virginia, but I was working at their satellite office out of Lawrence, Kansas. So, but my health got kind of the best of me, so I didn't finish up, and I wind up having to retire and take disability. So that's where I am right now. But anyway, I'm making it day to day. God blessing, and like I said, live and learn, and just keep going.
Oh, I guess that's my turn, huh?
It's your turn now.
All right. My name is Derek Rodriguez, from Des Moines, Iowa. I I'm kind of a modern day Renaissance man, I guess. Um, I started off as a soldier. I served in the army for about 11 or 12 years, and then from there I went into culinary. Uh, Lived all over the place, and now I'm beginning from the time of 2020 and the death of George Floyd and the onslaught of the Great Resignation. I've now entered my third career, which is now discovered to be my vocation, which is social work.
Cool.
So
So, guys, these are my cousins. These are my two cousins, and very wise on certain things. Um, Gosh, Reggie and I played all our lives together. Played football and baseball and basketball, and just grew up together. Dayrick happens to be Reggie's first cousin, and we knew each other, right? But it
oh yeah,
wasn't until like 20 months ago. Can't say 18. I think it's been 20 now.
yeah, a little over.
We got to know each other, hang out, start talking, just he come by and chilling and just enjoying each other's company. And he's really helped me through a lot of stuff. Let's just say it like that. It's like, yeah, I didn't have to go to a psychologist. I had my cousin Derek to help me out with that. Um, so today we're going to talk about person, environment, which AKA I like to call it PI. It's probably what it's called for real though too, huh?
It
Yeah.
is. It's a pie perspective.
Yeah. And so
Mhm.
this is something that we talk about quite often, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. So why don't you kind of like run it down, but do it like so I can understand it?
Well, it's a philosophy that's primarily used for advocates and social workers in the field. Um, person environment perspective takes the individual and how the person is viewed based on their ideology, their culture, their beliefs, and their strengths. And then they look at them integrated into many different perspectives, and each perspective increases gradually. The first perspective is the individual themselves, and then it's the individual within their nucleus, like their family, and then
Hmm.
it expands out from the family to the community, and then on to macro systems is what we call it, like community, like state or nation or the religion overall, or depending on the perspectives of the person and the environment. Yeah, that's how we approach our assessments and our interventions in order to do the best work for our clients.
Okay. So looking at this, and I don't want to say it like that, but being a black man in America,
Mhm.
how do you think this affects you guys? Like,
Um,
where you come from and how what you did affect you through all of that, through your
um,
entire life?
okay. May I speak?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
go
Okay.
ahead.
All right. Um, Derek, what you said is very well put. Of course, lay guys like me, although I did go to college and my major was social psychology with a minor in criminal justice. I didn't finish. However, I'm just kind of the lay people, so I'll just kind of throw it out there. I like my brilliant cousin Derek. Um, Basically, how it affects me as a black man is that, first of all, I'm still learning my identity. Uh, I know that my people or those who look like me were robbed of their names, language, culture, what they would deem God, folklores, mores. Uh, we've had our norms tampered with. Um, our women were used, and our men were buck breaked, and basically, even we were unfortunately put through the traumatic things like having intercourse with our mothers, which is where you get the term mother effer. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, our babies. I don't have children, but I can imagine children who were snatched from their mothers at night in the slave quarters and taken down in the bayou or in the swamps and used as alligator bait. Uh, I can imagine the effect that that would have on the psyche of a black woman, or seeing their men lynched right in front of them or actually being forced, the men, to see their wives raped, and babies snatched out of your belly and had their head stomped. I mean, these were the traumatic things that we as a black people have had to deal with, and still we rise, you know. So there's something about us as a people that we're able to galvanize despite the many things that have been hurled against us. Is there's that something that's just quite unexplainable about us as a people in terms of our power. So hopefully we can all go in on that tonight. So
Well, if I can piggyback off of that, I
sure.
do see that historical aspect that you're referring to, and also, unfortunately, it's still carried on to this day.
Hmm.
We've all experienced, witnessing the trauma of watching somebody audacious basically put his knee on a man's neck in broad daylight until he stopped living, you
Mhm.
know.
Yes.
And the good thing about now, I would say, in the 2020s, is that whether we want to acknowledge it or not, on the overall perspective, and that's what, person in an environment perspective looks at. In the macro sense, I mean, we did have white advocates in the civil rights time, and we did
Hmm.
have white advocates in abolition.
Hmm.
But, now the white advocates are willing to unapologetically speak truth to power, you know,
Hmm.
and there is an alliance there. It's not perfect, but it is something to build on. And
Hmm.
like I have told Hope on many occasions, the problem before was that these situations would happen and people would just whitewash it or look the other way. Now, you know, people have no problem having the difficult conversations depending on the social environment that you're in.
Hmm.
So I think this presents us an opportunity to develop a vetting process to compile with our survivability, to bounce back in traumatic situations, which is also known as resilience. You know, so
Hmm.
once we know where we've been, who we are, and where we're going, or at least what direction to head and what tools to have when we're going in that direction, I think this is like an opportunity for us to evolve further. You know, we've always been strong, resilient people,
Yes.
but now we're starting to understand a broader perspective. And well, I don't think it really was until we started talking to each other on the internet, to
Hmm.
realize that, you know, a lot of us are going through similar circumstances in our, communities all across the country and hell, even all across the world. You saw how the world galvanized after George Floyd's death,
Hmm.
Mhm.
so we do have power in our voice, so it's high time to use it.
Do you
And
guys think that go ahead. No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
uh, I appreciate you. I think I totally, totally concur with what Dayreek just said. And if I might add to this, the fact of the matter is that we've always had to have our head on a swivel. We're all truly family, regardless of degrees of melanin. Okay. However, what I'm concerned with is from a worldwide standpoint that no matter what the social, economic, or political order of things, why is one group on top and why is one group on the bottom? And the people that are on the bottom usually look like us, despite that we come from the motherland. And I'm saying Africa only because somebody put that label on it. I'm sure it was called several other names. But it's not by chance that the most precious minerals in the world, the things that operate our cell phones, our smartphones right now, our iPads, our computers, anything that is broadband or electromagnetic comes from the Congo. Can't get it anywhere else. But when you go to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, everybody is there taking those minerals but us. The Chinese have their foot there, the French, and other people all around the world. Everybody's there but the people who are native to that country. So the same goes with the diamonds and the oil and everything else, you know. And I guess, you know, like Derek was saying, we're starting to galvanize and have that discussion that we need to have at the table. But I guess my concern is that can I truly close my eyes, or do I always need to keep one eye open? Just for the fact of so many things that have been done to us as a people, so many promises that have been made to our native brothers, to our Brazilian people, different people. And then as soon as we get comfortable, somebody comes in, takes your land, takes your minerals, your resources, basically have you with a knife to your throat, clamoring to do or ask for things on your own land. So I'm glad we're having that dialogue and those discussions, but I'm still, from a traumatic sense, remembering the things that were done to us, not only in this country, but abroad, and still wanting to be healed from that. So, that's just what I wanted to contribute. But anyway, cousin.
Looking at that on that perspective, and looking at what you all both have said, I the relationship that we have outside of people, out of with white people, how has that affected? Because now like when we were kids, we were raised here, Reggie, but
Mm-hmm.
now that you know different and you know more, how has that affected you in relationships with friends, relatives, your wife, anything?
Well, I have to say it like this. When I was younger, I was more immature. So my mind probably operated in a more singular sense. I was maybe more single minded in some
Mm-hmm.
views of certain things. As I've aged, and I'm fortunate to say this, my mind and my thoughts have broadened a lot. I've been able to observe the good, the bad, and the ugly in everybody. And considering that black people are the original people on the planet, then everything emanates or comes from us as a family in terms of birth. All people are birthed out of us. So when I see someone over here, irregardless of their melanin or of their skin complexion, act in a certain way, I have to say that behavior is something that's lied latent in me as a black man. Not that I would do that thing necessarily, but it's like, okay, I see my brother over here, even though he's white and has thinner hair. So genetically, if I were to just stick with genetics, I
Mm-hmm.
know that he is, you know, uh, he's not the dominant gene. He's the recessive gene.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's the mutation, okay, of me. So basically, you know, there's a part of me that reaches out to him, that wants to embrace him, but I'm not trying to allow someone to destroy me. You know, I don't want to hurt you, but if I have to, I will. Because I have a responsibility to be a gatekeeper to this environment, to this earth, you know, and just do things in accordance with nature. I don't want to destroy nature. I want to enhance what God has given it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's room for everybody at the table to eat. You know, I'm not trying to take away your ability to eat, nor do I want you to take away from my family and my ability to eat. And I think that's a problem that we struggle with today in terms of why everybody has been paid reparations except us. So
Hmm.
that's just my feel.
We need to discuss that a little bit more too, but quit smiling. Quit smiling, Derek. What is your
I told you it was gonna get hot up in here tonight.
no?
Anyway,
I'm smiling for a whole different reason. But
yeah.
anyway, can you elaborate on what he said even more? On what are your thoughts? How do the relationships in your life, because you know more now and
Go in, Reek.
you look at things a little bit
Go
differently.
in, Reek.
Well, I look at it from a lot of different perspectives. Generationally, um, I see family members doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Sociologically, I don't see generational wealth. I don't see advancements. I don't
Yes.
see black businesses thriving or surviving.
Yes.
You know, I historically, I see the same soup warmed over. You know,
Yes.
um, comparing it the 2020s to the civil rights movement. You know, I still see the same social stratifications.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Going back farther to the Jim Crow era, I still see the same aggressiveness and two-sided judicial system that allows one group to do whatever they want, you know, without any repercussions, and the other one serving years upon years upon years for crimes they didn't commit, you know.
Yep.
And then go back even further to slavery, I still see the same rationale and apathy and dehumanizing. But when you compile that with how do I approach relationships, I think about how mass incarceration and the war on drugs and things like that kept our men from our families' households and left our women to be proverbially pimped by Uncle Sam.
Yes.
You know, Uncle Sam was a pimp, He sat there and he said, "Hey, girl,
Ooh.
you ain't got to worry about that, brother. I got you. I'm going to give you the stamps. I'm going to give you this low income housing. I'm going to give you these projects. You ain't got to worry about that, dude. I'll tell you what, you could write him a couple of letters, all right? You know, take a picture of your boobs and send it to him, give him a little something. But other than
Woo.
that, no, man, no, you don't need that." And
Woo.
they bought it hook, line, and sinker. And now we have groups of I don't need no bodies that are guarded, jaded, hypervigilant
Mm.
in the same manner of a soldier coming home from the combat zone, attributing every humanistic move that we make just by being human beings
Mm-hmm.
and chalking it up to being red flags.
Mm.
Nope,
Mm.
nobody
Mm.
has the maneuverability to make mistakes anymore. And there is no safe space, no respite for those
Mm.
things to happen. So I'm conflicted, I'm angry, I'm resentful, and I'm tired.
Mm. Mm. I got to clap on that one, boy. Woo.
But
Okay, hold that
Oh
thought,
my
guys.
goodness.
Real quick, hold that thought. Hey, you guys, you're listening to Tea with TD on Slide Radio Uncut. And we are live on the radio today with my two cousins, who I love very much, Reggie and Derek. And we are talking about person in environment today. And if you've missed it, a little bit of this, these brothers are throwing down a little bit of knowledge today. And No, go ahead and continue what you were saying now. I'm sorry. I had to get
No, you're
that
fine.
out real quick.
Um,
Well,
Go ahead, Reg.
Avery, I had to say, man, brother, I'm still trying to get my breath behind what you just said, man. I mean, I think I felt a heat wave come over, but
Felt something.
I know that's right. But I will tell you that social engineering's a beast. When you've been experimented on like we have and stacked on levels of levels and levels of a mortar, brick and mortar, or building called what we call the PJs, the projects, or wherever they might be, where you have a congestion of people pitted against each other on purpose. You're not using a prime mantis. You're not using a white lab rat. You're not using ants or grasshoppers. You're using people of color. And basically, when they tested those animals and they put them on top of each other or insects, they found that there was conflict and chaos and all kinds of stuff. Mind you, whenever somebody wants to do something, they first use nature's experiments before they pass it along to you.
The canary in the coal mine.
Mm.
Exactly. So, projects, what they call the ghetto, they're all social engineered experiments that were weaved and plotted out way before they were put into fruition to get a conditional response of people who are poor, people who are conditioned to take drugs or liquor up, people who are overly sexed and their women are taken and used as playthings and pitted one against another, then what do you get? You get dejected people who act out,
Mm-hmm.
which usher in the police who could shoot you or, or create that school to prison
Yep.
pipeline and feed the judicial system, the judges up there in the black attire, the ability to pound a gavel and send you somewhere, which is incidentally, these prisons are being built more and more. They're not subsidized just by the federal government or state anymore, they're private institutions. So you get
Yeah.
your Philip Morris's or your Coca-Colas or different companies like that going out here building prisons and creating public stock trading for them. And they're being built in small towns like Cameron, Missouri. You,
Yeah.
you wonder why prisons are built in small towns? That's another story for another time.
We're going to have
It's
that
part of the
conversation.
census that they can add to those small town census
Yeah.
to manipulate the numbers and loans and banking and all that stuff. But like I said again, that's a story for another time. But we are being subtly manipulated in some ways. We've
Yes.
got to get back to black people not only thinking of themselves as a minority, actually, that we're the majority. They want you to think you're the minority, but we're the majority when it comes to a worldwide, international perspective. But we got to come together, irregardless of the language we speak, and begin to trade and bank with each other and barter amongst ourselves. If we just did that alone, it's over for the other people trying to manipulate you. You wouldn't care. It's
Yeah.
over. They
I
couldn't
have
do
to
nothing about
agree
you.
with that.
That's why they don't want us mixing. They don't want admixtures right now because that genetically annihilates them. Dr. Francis Cress Wellesley, the ISIS papers, tells you all about it.
Yeah, I've heard of that. But I lean more towards the United States Census, especially the last one of
Yeah.
2020, they even anticipate by 2042, they estimate that the white majority will become the minority.
Exactly.
That's what they're afraid of.
Yeah.
So, of course, for people with power, what do they want to do? They want to preserve their power and acquire more power, you know? So, what better thing to do than to build a boogeyman or a scapegoat,
Right.
you know? Oh, these immigrants are coming.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good thing I got these advocate judges here that are willing to help farm these people into for-profit prisons that do minimal care for maximum profit,
Ooh.
you know? Because now, I know I'm contributing to this capitalistic society, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But what if we shift the perspective away from that power dynamic more towards a care economy? That was the problem to begin with. When we looked at the economic structure, we looked at it in terms of natural resources, infrastructure, and supply and demand. That's
Mm-hmm.
the GDP.
Yes.
Now, modern studies point to, oh gosh, I wish I knew what it stood for, but it's the GPI. Let me look it up real quick.
Okay. And while you're looking that up, Dayreek, if you don't mind, basically, it's this is all social. It's by design. They want us to be pitted against each other. Hope. Basically, you as a black woman are beautiful. Right now, Hope, you're doing an Oprah #2. You're Oprah. You're sending things out there right now that you're not even aware of, but you're going to take off. And as long as people keep supporting you, I'm telling you, the stars, you go as far as your drive takes you. I'm telling you, because you're doing
Thank you,
something here.
cousin.
You're doing something here that we need, and you have my love and you have my support, and I'm sure that Dayreek has equal sentiment.
I
But
do.
As long as it doesn't
this
take
is what
18 months, huh?
this is what this is what we need, though. This is the
I
dialogue
think that
and conversation that we as a people need. You know.
having these kind of conversations, it makes us, especially me, I'm going to be truthful and honest and say it makes me more aware of who I am and who I'm becoming
Mm-hmm.
and what I want to do with my voice, because I've always had a voice. I've always been a talker,
Mm-hmm.
but now I feel like I'm putting my voice to good use. And if it's to help somebody understand certain things about ourselves and as a society in a whole,
Mm-hmm.
because when we look at pies, that's what I call it.
Uh-huh.
Um, it gives you a better understanding. Well, you're gonna this is gonna happen if this goes on. If this continues to go on, this is gonna happen,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives me a better understanding of why for so long I felt certain ways about certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and that's like one of the things that Derek and I talk about all the time is, well, you feel this way because of this, and you feel this way because you say, well, you're a beautiful black woman, but I can honestly tell you I haven't always thought that. I haven't always liked myself as the way I look as a black woman. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about size necessarily. I'm talking about my nose, my hair,
Mm-hmm.
my skin color. I didn't always like myself, but it's because of the environment that I lived
Right.
in and what I was always fed either through the
Mm-hmm.
media or my surroundings was why I didn't like myself.
Mm-hmm.
When
Yeah,
yeah, go
it
ahead.
becomes those narratives that we fall for hook, line, and sinker. Uh, Gross product indicator was what I was looking for.
Okay.
And it also takes into consideration other factors like pollution, carbon tax, environmental justice, the care economy, which includes like childcare, senior services, and things of that nature. All of these things integrated into the economy takes away from that capitalistic view where we are a byproduct of hundreds of years of me, this individualism, and then we
Mm-hmm.
shift it to us as a
Mhm.
in the United States of America. If it's not a plane running into a tower or kamikazes crashing into our ships in the harbor, nothing
Mm-hmm.
unites us.
Yeah, that's It's
That's
true.
true.
Who are we as Americans? Seriously, universally, who are Americans? And what do we project out to the world other than contradictions?
Well, if I could jump in, basically, and that's my laugh where, I mean, everything's coming, but I'm just trying to pick what I want
Yep, I got that laugh. I remember that laugh.
to say. We built this country through basically the antebellum South. We basically, they got free labor from us, childhood, slavery labor, and basically deemed us three-fourths human being, where they get the basically the deduction like cattle.
Hmm.
If we die, then they file insurance and they get money back. Uh, they were able to basically walk on land and acreage and deem it, hey, I want this land. Didn't have to pay for it. You could come in as an immigrant from Poland and step on a piece of land and be like, I want this, build your house on it, and do it for free. You know, where if you want a house,
Mm.
that you have to pay 3, 5, 10 times more than your Euro counterparts would.
Yeah,
Uh, and you never had, others never had redlining practiced on them. We did. Do.
indigenous.
But, like I said, eugenics is being practiced on us today. And if you didn't hear that, I'm going to say it one more time.
Yeah,
Eugenics is being practiced
Hmm.
on us every day
yeah,
through the food, through the water supply, through the educational system, through the signs and symbols and statues that work on you subliminally, the television, the movies, the magazines, you name it. The music, everything is programmed for us to destroy and kill ourselves. Yet
Yes.
yet as Maya Angelou said, we still rise. We're like
yeah.
the super cockroach. I'm telling you, no matter what you do,
But
you
the
can't
carrot only works on
control.
the hamster wheel for so long.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And as far as those theories about Aryanism and all that stuff, Jesse Owens blew that to heck in Munich right in front of Adolf
Yeah.
Hitler. So you can't come at me talking about that mess.
Oh, by
Okay.
the way, the Nazis learned from us.
Mm.
I
Well,
just
they
want to throw that
did.
out there.
They did. They stole one of our African symbols and put on their arm the swastika. They stole that because that original symbol was a symbol for earth, air, water, and fire. And then they took it and bent up the curved sides and made it a cross in Rome. So, like I
Mm.
said, I'm not going to go too much into that. That's a story for another time. But basically, signs and symbols are being used on us all the time. We're just not aware of it. They think, oh, this statue's here, this statue's there. We don't know what's going on, but it's working on us subliminally. And,
Well, look
it's
at the
so many
pushback that
things.
we had over the Confederate flag.
Yes, yes, and that's why some of these people are just rolling around in the street, saliva and foaming at the mouth when these things are being taken down. And that's a guy that's sitting in the, basically in an office with a tie on. That ain't the guys that's in somewhere in Alabama with the overalls on.
Yeah.
I mean, which you have been programmed to think that, but they're not relevant. It's the
With
ones with the money pushing all the
yeah.
buttons. You know, passing the paperwork. And the
Keeping the Supreme
ones that
Court justices on their payroll.
Hmm.
you got it. The ones that are hooked into the Committee of 300, where you got the Rothschilds and the Beers and the Rockefellers and all the ones with money. That are pushing your buttons. But At the same time, you know, we are, like I said, no matter what they throw at us, we still have survived and will survive and get back to where we were at one time. But again, it's just about us working together, having those conversations. Those who are legitimate and genuine, then that will pan out. And those who are just hiding like wolves among sheep, that will be found out as well. So again, it's just for us to be secure, keep doing what we're doing now, having that necessary dialogue, and not be afraid to do it, not be afraid to turn over rocks and this and that and dig. Yes, it hurts. It hurts. Hope. Like I was, you were talking to me once about, I guess the golf property in
Yes. Where
Cameron.
our grandparents lived. Yes.
Yes. Now they kept approaching them because they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to buy it. Now they had already developed a golf course that they
Mm-hmm.
had whispered and in the dark rooms discussed about what they wanted to do and making it to some kind of resort golf course or whatever. But what was standing in their way was our
Us.
grandparents.
Yeah. Our grandparents. Yeah.
So they said, okay, well, we'll approach you with, hey, we want this, Josh. We'll give you X number of dollars. We know you'll take it. Like the shiny mirror that they give you, if
Well,
you
they
discover
had also told
somebody's.
him that they would help him acquire some land out in the
Yeah,
country, and our grandmother said, "I'm not moving in the country. I'm not
right,
doing that." And
right.
so their refusal, because the golf course was already there. Because I remember her stories about how my mom, your dad, and everybody would go collect the golf
Uh-huh,
balls in the water. They get in the pond or whatever. They get the golf balls out and they give them back, and they
right.
get money for giving them back.
Uh-huh.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead and continue your story.
So, when they approach you with that and you say no, you figure, okay, that's just good business. I mean, you made an offer, I rejected it. You go back, you think, okay, we'll offer them more money. They may or may not have done that. But even so, if we said no, that should be okay. So
And
finally, they try to come at you with eminent domain. They'll be like, okay, well, we try to work with you and try to buy it from you. And if you don't want to, sell it, then we're going to try to get it, through eminent domain. So obviously, they own the land outright. They own the mineral rights to that land. There was no way they could sneakily get it. So we all know what the next step is. When they can't
their next
get it
step was
one way, they send somebody early in the morning to get it another way.
yes, which means
Now,
if
I will
those
say,
who
for the
don't
sake of
know,
conversation, alleged. I will say alleged from a legal
no, there was
standpoint
no
because we don't
alleged
know.
cousin.
Well, I
There was no
know it was,
alleged.
but you know the
There was
deal.
no alleged.
But
Let me
I'm
just break it down
saying,
real
you know
quick.
how
Let
we
me just
got to
break it down
frame
real
this
quick.
thing.
There was no alleged. These people had some men come and burn our grandparents' house down to the ground with
Right.
them in it while they were sleeping,
Yes.
along with my mother, our aunt, her husband, and their baby, and our grandmother, our aunt that just passed away a few months ago,
Yeah.
and three of their children. They're their sons.
Mm-hmm.
One son is still alive. He's the only one left because, God has taken us from home.
Uh-huh.
My mother died 7 years ago. Our aunt died a few months ago. They were all severely, except for Uncle Larry. He was not burnt. But
Uh-huh.
the ones that were in there, except for our grandfather and Uncle Larry and Aunt Edna and her husband, were either burnt severely or they died. So there was a baby that died along with two of our uncles in that fire. That they wanted that land, and so they burnt them up.
Well, I'll tell you some more stuff to add to that. You know how your Uncle Herbie had his trucks, okay, when he
Yes.
picked up the trash. Well, when he needed maintenance on those trucks, he would take them into, and I'm not going to name names, but he would take them in
Thank you.
to get fixed. And
Yes.
they would fix one thing and they would tinker with something else. And then
Yes.
the trucks would break down. My dad had to, when he bid on the residential stuff, to pick up the community, the residential. He would pick up, obviously, the trash where you really can't afford it, because if you look at it, he was like taking it for pennies on the dollar. Some of the
Mm-hmm.
commercial people weren't even paying their bills at all. Matter of fact, one company was trading us donuts, and they used to have, they used to,
I'm
I
sorry.
kid you not, I ain't gonna
Say
say
it
the name
like
of the
that.
place, but we're familiar with the donut place, but I ain't
Yes,
gonna
we
say
are
the
very
name of it.
familiar with who that
But
was.
don't say the name. But
I'm
anyway,
I'm not saying
because I used to
anything.
ride on the trash truck, so I know. But
Ye-
anyway,
Yes.
basically they was tampering with this truck. They would
Yep.
fix one thing and then mess something else up, so we'd have to keep bringing the truck in. And then they took the dumping that they used to have just outside of Cameron,
Mm-hmm.
and they moved it to St. Joseph, Missouri. So my
Mm-hmm.
my dad is picking up trash for like almost nothing,
Mm-hmm.
pennies. But at the same time, he's doing it on volume, so at least you can play that game a little bit. But after a while, we had someone come over to our home while he was under contract with the city. And it was a white gentleman. I'm not going to say his name. But he told my dad, he said, Herb, they're not going to let you win the contract bid. No matter what you bid, they're
Yes.
not going to let you get it. He told us that in confidence. He said, if you tell them that I said it, I'll deny it. He said, but I'm just giving you a heads up because we're friends. He said that no matter what you bid, Herb, they're not going to let you have the residential contract. So my dad didn't really move on that because, I know our uncles and stuff had to play smiley face
We
and be docile.
Oh, that was,
And they
yeah,
was,
go ahead.
and
Go ahead.
mentally and psychologically, they were afraid
Do,
because they were brought up in small towns and they always had to be kind of like dismissive
yeah.
of the watermelon jokes and all the fried chicken and all that, that they was telling around them. We even had I forgot her name, but you might remember, Hope, when we get off of here, a lady that your mom was the Aunt Betty was aware of. They used to make my dad, which I think she had some kind of sexual crush on my dad. Anyway, long story short, she would make him a chocolate cake and would put like a yellow face, but it was chocolate
Mm-hmm.
resembling him, and would bring it over in front of my mom and be like, "Oh, I remember
Was
with
she
those."
older?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah.
think you know who I'm talking about. I used to live right across the high
Yep.
school. But
Oh,
anyway,
yeah. Yeah.
and
Him and grandpa. I
yes,
think it's just a black man fetish. I don't know.
yes, yes, you did.
So
Long
let me
story
ask you this
short,
question. Let me
I
ask you this
remember those
question.
black kids running around with their shirts off
Yeah.
and playing in the
It's,
water and all that.
yeah.
And I just love watching them.
Something wrong with her. But let me ask you this question.
Yeah,
Looking at the fact that, because you spoke upon they had to just smile. And
yes,
I know I was talking to your sister one day and she said we were just all in survivor mode.
yes.
I never even thought about that until Derek and I started having all these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I was like, dang, we were in survivor mode. All we did was survive because we didn't have to,
Right.
but there you are, the only black face there, and someone's making these jokes. And it's like, you either giggle or go home.
Well, you
And
know
as a
what it
kid,
was like when we
sometimes
went to high school.
huh?
You know, you know what it was like when we went to
It was
school.
bad.
But
I mean, yeah.
but Dunbar. You guys have heard of Dunbar, right? The poet. He said, "We wear the mask that grins and lies." In other words, we had to do whatever we had to do
Yeah.
to get through the day. I didn't pass high school. I didn't graduate from high school. I had to wait to get my GED, but I just lost interest. I checked out mentally. I'll be honest with you. I checked out because
Yeah, we both did.
I was inundated with all the jokes,
In the
and I'm going
Yeah,
to say it, all the nigger jokes.
all the time.
Okay, all the chicken, watermelon eating, tar baby, spear chucking. I heard it all.
Yeah.
Okay, even
Yeah.
teachers. I'm not talking about
Yeah.
just fellow students. I'm talking about teachers that I'm going to school here. My parents are paying tax dollars, And I'm hearing all this. I'm hearing it from my vice principal who gave me swats talking about how a man should stay in his place because she came from the South, Miss
Oh,
Myrick.
that was
Her
named Nick,
son
remember?
told me before he died how racist they were coming up from Louisiana. He
It's crazy.
told me. He passed away. He was a twin. Him and his sister were twins and
Hmm.
went to high school. They were a couple of grades ahead of me. He told me how racist he was raised, and that he called me. He used to be a truck driver. He called me, I think, just because he had white guilt, and he began to talk to me and just apologize about all the treatment from other people that I got going through high school. I was like, oh, that's okay. I'm older now. So then
Why
I
did
was
you
young.
say that's okay?
Well, I'm not. Well, in my mind, Dayreek, I said it was okay because I guess I conditioned myself to deal with it, thinking
Hmm.
until I got older that it was okay to be called that stuff, like Burrhead, stuff like that.
Hmm.
But then I learned later it wasn't okay. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Am I going to go back and smack every person in high school that called me something bad,
No,
or am I going to be
I get
strong?
that. But at the same time, it's not your job to give that person absolution for
Right.
endorsing racist behavior. You
Yes.
that's not on you. And I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of thinking he had a clear conscience with me.
Well, that's why I don't go to any. That's why I don't go back to any reunions when they have high school reunions. I said I refuse to go back there.
Yeah.
There's people I barely knew in my life that when I went to college treated me like a human being, versus me going back here and pretending that I had. And I'm not saying I didn't have good people in my class because I did. Karen Swartz,
Yeah.
she was wonderful, beautiful spirit. Cheryl, under I forgot her last name, but anyway, there were a few people in my class. Another girl, first name's Karen, but she was in my grade. She had freckles and everything. She was a good person to me. And Ryan Rothstein was a good person to me.
Yeah, I will say this about the Rothsteins though, they
But
were amazing. Period.
it was just him, not the dad.
No,
You
his
know.
dad was amazing though. His dad always treated us like we were like, yeah. Long story. I have to go back through that later, but his dad was very good to us, to me, to our family,
Yeah.
as far as my mom goes. Yeah, yeah.
But I know I'm trying not to mention personal names, but basically, as a whole, like you said, Dave, I'm not trying to give them absolution. I'm just saying that they're going to have to answer for that one day themselves.
Hmm.
And, I know as we were talking about, these are the things that you remember, that makes up part of your makeup. But because I've had other things that has made me stronger as a black man,
Hmm.
I've been able to deal with it and compartmentalize it and use it for my fuel, okay, to help me basically navigate through this life and understand, what kind of sick disease racism really is
Hmm.
and how it affects people on the deepest level.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not to say I don't sympathize for white folks.
Mm-hmm.
I do. It must suck to recognize, suddenly wake up one day and realize, oh my God, everything that I was taught as normal was absolutely fucked up. You
Yeah.
that must be a hell of a burden. And it must be hard to unpack. But at the same time, it ain't my burden.
Yeah.
They had that same level of apathy for me when I was going through my plights. They relegated
Hmm.
everything that I said to nothingness. Oh, everybody goes through that. Oh, you're making it a big deal. You're making a big deal out of nothing. That type of stuff. And
Hmm.
then, and I'm pretty sure every black person across the United States has several stories, just like the ones you guys are telling about Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we don't forget these things. We just learn to move on with them wiser, and we learn to avoid them. But at the same time, you're also making yourself small
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, not saying nothing, silence is complicity, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's silence is a way of saying that what they did was, yeah, it hurt, but it's okay.
Yeah.
No, it's not okay.
That's
It's
for sure.
far from okay. And I hope your grandbabies are black.
You so stupid. I can't with you. I'm done with you. I can't with
I
you.
do. I hope their grandbabies are black. I hope that their daughter gets the deepest, darkest, longest.
Oh
Oh
my God,
Lord.
this one right here. You know, it's so funny that you say that though, because a lot of people that went to some of the folks that I went to school with actually have mixed grandbabies, and
I bet
sometimes
they're
Wow.
learning now,
it's
ain't they?
most, yeah, it's sometimes some of the most ones that would say the N word, you know, call you a nigga real quick, and it's like, oh, I wonder if you use that word still,
Keep
because
that
I'm looking at your
same
family.
energy.
Mm,
Yeah, I'm
mm,
looking
mm.
at your family photos. You got a couple little darkies in your, you know, I'm thinking, come on now, are you still
Hmm
using those words?
Yeah,
Yeah.
boy.
Yep.
I think though the reason why I did like that I like this subject so much is because you really don't realize how much your environment affects who you are and
Yep.
how you look at things. And I really honestly, it's just been recently, like I said, that I started liking who I am
Yep.
and
Hmm
my nose and my lips and you know for
It's
and I
funny though
Okay.
huh
when I we're three black Midwesterners, right? You
what
know, so we're three black
Yep.
Midwesterners.
yes.
So we're kind of used to being raisins in a bowl of milk. You know what I mean?
Yes, very much so. Very
But
much so.
when I went down to Louisiana, you know, and I was like living down there for a couple of years, when I would talk, people would be like, "Why are you talking like Tiger Woods?"
Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh
It
Lord.
was like, and then I let them know, "Oh, okay, well, I'm from Iowa." Iowa? I didn't even know there were black people from
Oh,
Iowa.
I
I'm
hear
like,
that all the time.
"Yep." I'm like, "Oh, that's okay. Don't worry. I was the last one. I moved." You
I hear it
know,
all the time. I hear it all the time. I have people who want to talk to me and they're like, they want to see my face first. They want to FaceTime first. Why? Because you don't sound like a black person.
Right.
hmm
Right.
And it throws them off because,
Yes.
you know, you know what I'm saying? Like it throws me off. That throws them off.
Hmm.
Also, like it but like I said, it affected everything about me. Like I don't throw no shade on nobody who wears wigs and weaves and everything, but I didn't even like my natural hair until 7 years ago.
right.
And and me getting locks had nothing to do with me being black or anything. It had to do with, I didn't want to comb my hair anymore. I didn't want to put I was using relaxers all the time. And then I look at the damage that people have right now because of all these
Right.
relaxers they put in their hair.
Right.
And now, and I laugh about this because my hair has never been this long in my entire life,
hmm
nor did I think it was going to be this manageable.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Hope, we're the number one consumers. So
Yeah.
basically, and who basically is the number one consumers among black people is black women.
Yes.
So, because naturally there are more of you than us as black men. So, because they got all us behind bars anyway. But that's,
Well,
like I
yeah.
said, that's another story. And the ones that are behind bars, well, they're being socially worked on for other things. And I'm not going to go into that because I don't want you shut down. But
Thank you.
anyway, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, you all have been taught to hate yourselves.
Yes.
And it started back in my mom's era where they used to make fun of, oh, y'all wear those big earrings and y'all
Yeah.
wear those colored stockings and, ooh, and gross and all of that. And then now you can't get them for them getting them.
Well,
Cause,
yeah. Look, I mean, they wear wigs and have more extensions sometimes than we do, and it's like okay, but I think that understanding that my environment played a lot in who I am as a person
sure.
really helped me, and I hope it helps everyone else get a
Uh-huh.
lot of perspective on why you act the way you act, why we talk the way we talk, why we think the
Yeah.
way we think, and also that it's not too late to change those ways of thinking.
That's
It's not
right.
too late to reinvent yourself.
Absolutely.
And if you have extraordinary people, which I've had extraordinary people to talk to and help me 18 months of getting myself together and understanding why I act the way I act and talk the way I talk, then if you got that on your side, you can make this. You can make this happen. And if you have kids, irregardless of where you send them to
Mm-hmm.
school, whether it be private school or public school, let them understand that who they are. They're special people, especially Black boys. Like I every now and then I'll send my grandson some texts and my granddaughter, because I want them to know that they're special no matter what. And my daughter and her husband do a great job. They do a magnificent job of that. But I think it takes a
Yes.
whole village, their entire family, to say, no matter what, don't let nobody talk to you this way or that way. And
Amen.
Yeah,
they,
because Lord knows the village on the other side is constantly in their ear.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my grandson went to church camp over the summer, and it was not a very happy moment for him. However, the people that were running the camp, which happened to
Uh-huh.
be white, they said no, the other camper had to leave because they weren't gonna have him treated like this, because he was like this, one of the only Black kids there.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention he's a little nerdy because he's really smart, but um
Relatable.
yeah, so, yeah, I
Hey,
thought it might be, but
can I
for
say
us,
one thing real
go
quick?
ahead,
Hope,
cousin.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
No, go ahead,
and then
cousin.
I'll defer to you and Dayre to to whatever. I'm gonna say this to you and all Black women. Hope you're a very beautiful person. You're a beautiful Black woman, as is all of our women are beautiful that are Black. You don't have to listen to anybody's ideology or debase yourself to think you got to get a BBL or
Mm-hmm.
this, that, or
I
the
don't need one
other
of
to be
those.
beautiful.
I
You are
definitely don't need a
now.
BBL.
I mean, I know you're a la natural. I know you're a la
I know what you
natural.
mean, though. I'm
But what
sorry.
I'm saying is, you don't have to put blue eye contacts on. You don't have to put on a colored wig. You don't have to get any kind of what is it injected in your lips. God
I definitely
designed
don't need
you
that.
to be the beautiful goddess you are since
Thank you,
the
Mike.
dawn of time. You don't have a birth record. Everybody else does. And you need to stand tall and be proud. We come in all shapes and sizes, and you're beautiful no matter what. You keep on standing up there, stand fiercely like Queen Nzinga, and you tell them like it is. And if they don't like it, well, they could just be put in that boiling water or what they call the lake of fire with the four baboons around it and deal with it.
Oh, well, thank you, my cousin. You're very sweet. You're gonna make me cry before we leave. I want to say again, you're listening to Tea with Teedy on Slide Radio Uncut. We are live on the radio. You can see us again tomorrow on YouTube. Go to Slide TV Uncut. Dayre, my cousin, any last words for this today before we shut down?
Well, I would just advise your listeners to keep your eyes open or, stay woke. No, seriously. Like, whenever, you discover something, there is going to be tens of, if not twenties of hundreds of people trying to reframe the narrative of it. Stop
Mhm.
letting those bees buzz in your ears. Read your books, do your own investigating, you know, find your own answers for yourself. You will be surprised what you discover.
Yes.
But
Well
there is
put.
a whole bigger world than what's on your block.
Well put. Well put. Cause
You want to add
you're
anything to
not
that real
like
quick before?
America. You're not one. You're not one place in a single room in one house. America, that's all it is. America's one place, one room, in one house. There's many mansions and many houses out there. Don't allow yourself to be so single-minded and so wrapped up in America that you lose out, on what else is out there. Stay open, as my cousin just said. Just stay open. and learn.
Thank you guys again for tuning in and listening tonight. This is Tea with Teedy. We're going to shut this down. I want to thank Icy, Big Sight, C Slide, and all the rest of the guys from Slide Incorporation for allowing me to do this again and allowing me to use my voice into a good, positive way. You guys have a great rest of your night, and we will see you next Friday.
Thanks for
Peace.
having me. Peace.
Thank you guys. I love you both.
Love you.
Love you too.